This is the ancient Texan. This is my the view from my apartment, fifth floor in Vancouver. If you're listening to this on a podcast, well, you can go to YouTube if you really care about the pictures. What's been going on? Well, nothing new. We're having gun violence in America. Nothing new about that. It's actually been going on a long time. Both sides are kind of polarized. Democrats want more laws. National Rifle Association wants the status quo. About 50,000 people die gun violence in America, 25,000 suicides. A lot of mass shootings, a lot of kids killed. It's horrible. NRA says only things that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, we got 300 million guns, and it's not working out too well for us. It's actually kind of stupid because the results say that it's not working, and we got plenty of guns. Both sides will agree to that, I think. We might can make a improvement to take assault rifles off the table. But automatic weapons and assault rifles there's a fine line of difference there. Even a revolver that you can shoot fast as your finger can pull the trigger can kill a lot of people. Especially when you're shooting at kids. I don't think it makes much difference what you're using when you're shooting at kids. It's horrible, and we all want something done. I think we should put the burden on NRA and Republicans to come up with a plan. Keep pressing them for a plan. Now, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think it makes much difference because I think we have too many guns. And I don't see us getting rid of guns. And here's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to admit. Our forefathers, when they gave us the Constitution, put something in it that's just not good. The right to bear arms. Now, they were afraid of the federal government taking over and taking over the states, and the states being denied the use of guns. And they wrote this really ambiguous, crappy section about the right to bear arms. And it had to be ambiguous. Nobody writes that bad a paragraph on accident. So now we have this world that's full of guns. And it would take a constitutional amendment to get rid of the right to bear guns. Well, that's not going to happen. We all know that isn't going to happen. But what we have a hard time accepting is that we live in a country that is more violent than we would like, that is less safe than we would like, that cares less for people than we would like. It still doesn't have insurance, doesn't still cover mental illness. Most people don't have health insurance. A lot of people don't have health insurance. So the insurance they don't have doesn't cover their problems. So the elephant in the room is we're kind of stuck with the religion of the Constitution. Until 75% of us can give up that religion, or whatever the rules are, but it's a supermajority to change the Constitution. That ain't going to happen. So we're stuck living in a country that is fundamentally unsafe, where it's impossible to write any laws that make a difference. We just live in a violent country. I shouldn't say make any difference, that make enough of a difference. I think it's on the NRA and Republicans to prove me wrong. But they're not going to let anybody prove them wrong, because nothing's going to change. And that's America. See, we have this idea that America is exemplar. And I think in a couple areas we are. I think we make really good militaries that make really stupid mistakes, but that have a lot of power. After all, they chose to develop uranium so they could have the plutonium side product to make nuclear weapons. They could have gone for thorium and not given up plutonium and nuclear weapons, but nope. We went the other direction, probably because of the military. We could have had a military that made Russia feel like they were one of us, made them a little more comfortable, not necessarily giving in to them like we did, starting with Crimea and all the other countries that they've invaded. But I don't think our military was given Russia warm, fuzzy feelings. Anyway, I digress. We live in an aggressive country that is less safe than most developed countries. If you want to be safer, go to Denmark or even England, Australia, Japan, Switzerland, France. Well, France has their share of problems. People use trucks over there, although trucks aren't as good as guns at killing people. England, they use knives sometimes. Not as good at guns either. Really inefficient. But we live in a country where that's the norm. And see, we like to believe that we're morally superior and better than other countries, because that kind of goes back to this religious thing that you get. There's kind of this thing of, like with Job in the Bible, that he got punished and all his neighbors said, you're getting punished and all these bad things are happening to you because you're not following God. Because there's an assumption that if you're following God and you're following religion, you're doing what you're supposed to, bad things don't happen to you. That's kind of the religion of, good things happen to religious people and bad things happen to people that kind of deserve it anyway. That's kind of part of our religion in America too. Another part of our religion is the Constitution. If it's in there, it is really good stuff. And the thing about bearing arms, if it's in there, it must be really good stuff. No. That's not true. We argue about, the meaning of bearing arms and who bears arms. Well, the whole thing is crap. We're arguing about a detail. It's crap, first because it's ambiguous, and then if they wanted it to be the states and they didn't write it that way, I don't think that's an accident. I think it's crap either because people can't write English, or crap because their intentions were bad. Anyway you look at it, I think it's crap that it's there. And it's part of a religion that it's in the Constitution that's good. Well, that's not true. That's a religion. That's a religious point of view. You can't question the religion. So, I think in America, we see ourselves as exemplar. And we are in a few things. Strong military, which I started to say, and I got off the subject. And I think we're strong at creating things that make money. And if you got money, it's a good place to be sick here. If you don't have money, not so good. It's a good place to be sick and rich, or rich and sick. Or it's a better place to be if you're rich and sick than most places when you're rich and sick. But it's not so good to be poor here. But see, those things that we're looking at, and at the same time holding the point of view that America is great. Great in what? I want to say we're great because we're kind and honest and caring for other people. Not because we have a kick-ass military. I don't mind us having a kick-ass military. In fact, I think it's kind of feels good, except for the fact that if you got a big stick, you got to really be responsible for it. And can't say that we are. But we somehow hold things like we're a violent and aggressive country in our mind at the same time we hold in our mind that we're a great country. We hold in our mind that we don't take care of the poor and sick, that health care isn't a right in America like it is in most other developed countries, and that America is a great country. We hold those two things in our head at the same time. They seem contradictory to me. Am I the only one that sees the contradiction? Maybe we want to judge America by something else. Say we're like great because we can kick, our Navy can kick any other Navy's ass. And therefore that makes us great because that's what makes greatness. But we can't take my standard that I want us to be great because we're a kind and loving country. And then ignore gun violence, our aggressiveness, our tendency to make a religion out of everything. And it's not just the Constitution that we make a religion. Being woke is a religion. Being a fearmonger about climate change, that's become a religion. We tend to do everything to the extremes. We're not everything. We do a lot of things to the extreme. I was doing it right there. And at some point, when you hold on to something and don't allow something to be discussed, it moves from just an opinion to a religion. Like a banker was just fired in one of these big conferences because he challenged the fact that they're using the fear of global warming to push loans and grants for green projects. And he was saying that global warming is not affecting their banking and that they're using it as a ploy, a religion, to push projects that otherwise wouldn't make sense. Well, first, we're supposed to have a country where you have, you're free to speak your mind. So on that point alone, he should have been, disagree with him or not, it doesn't make any difference. But to fire him over that because he's violated the religion of global warming, I think kind of illustrates my point that we make everything into a religion. I could go on about that more. But right now I want to just challenge you. When you hold something in your head like America is great, or America is a good country, kind of look down the list of what it's like to live in America compared to other places. And I think it's a pretty good place to live, and it beats a lot of places I've lived in. And the stuff to do with money and us having money and luxuries makes life easier. There's no question about that. But there is a difference between what makes life easier and more comfortable and what makes life good and moral. And I think the good and moral count the most. So when you say America's great, ask yourself, are we good and moral people as a whole? And if you come away thinking like I do, that we have a lot of growing and learning and Got a long way to go. And we need, till we get there, to pick up a little more humility and banish the words that we're great a little less often. Because I think we've got some contradictions going on. And it's a shame that we live in a violent country where kids get shot. Lots of white men commit suicide. A lot of white men shoot people. A lot of people get shot. Yeah, I know. Other races do it too, but the white race seems to be commit more suicides, more shootings than anybody else. I think we've got some problems, and I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I think our aggression has spilled over and kind of screwed up our psychic. Anyway, this is the Ancient Texan. Just challenge you to kind of take the bitter pill that this is the America we live in, and it's really hard to change it. And more than likely, most of you are old dudes that listen to this. Not all of you. But most of us old dudes are going to die. Gun violence in America is going to be doing just fine. This is the Ancient Texan. Namaste.